So there are lots of different options you have when you're having your baby while you're in labour for helping you to manage the pain of labour. Some of them might be non-pharmacological, so that means they don't have any medicines involved in them or any drugs. So these might be things like using water, using massage, or other things might be you might have decided to go down a different route, such as with hypnobirthing or using aromatherapy oils and different things. Now, of course, there are some drugs that the midwife can administer if you want to. And I'm going to talk about two things today. I'm going to talk about your gas and air or your Entonox, because that's a different name for gas and air. And I'm also going to talk to you about a group of injectable drugs that you might want to choose instead. Now, the information I'm going to give you comes as a result of information that is on the NHS website, because the more you get into these things, the more complicated they become, I guess. What's really important, and what I want to say first of all, however, when it comes to taking any drug in labour, is to make sure that you really do give it with informed consent, so you know what the benefits of that drug are, you know what the risks of taking it might be, you know what other alternatives you have, you know how it's given, so you can really think about whether or not it's right for you. So the first thing that people often use in labour might be your gas and air or your Entonox drug. So this is a mixture of oxygen and nitrous oxide gases. Now, it doesn't remove all the pain, but it does help to make the pain feel a lot more bearable. And the nice thing about gas and air is you're under control of it, so you breathe it when you want to. So if you're having a birth in the hospital, it will usually be that the gas and air will come through the wall. There'll be a long tube attached to that. And you can usually have it as well if you're having a pool birth. That's another advantage. You can lean over the edge of the pool and suck your gas and air. If you're having a home birth, the midwife can bring a canister of the gas and air. Again, it's got the tubing attached to it. Now, what they will do at the end of this tube, and they have this mouthpiece, it's like a tube like this, and you will hold it in your hand and you suck it in. So when you start to feel the contraction building up, you will inhale the gas nice and deeply. It makes a kind of Darth Vader-y noise. So if you just hear breathing, you're not probably using it quite as well as you want to. Really big, deep breathing in, and it kind of makes a kind of that's my amateur dramatics in me kind of noise. Sounds more like a pig probably, but that's what we're trying to do when we're taking the gas and air. So as the contraction starts to build up, you start to inhale it, and it should hopefully just take the edge off that pain and make it a little bit more bearable for you. So the gas takes about 15 to 20 seconds to work, and you breathe it in as soon as it builds up. So by the time you get to the peak of that contraction, hopefully it will already be having the greatest effect. Now, because it's got that shorter half-life, the nice thing about gas and air is that once you've breathed it out, it's out of your system, because it might make you feel a little bit dizzy. Some people say it makes them feel a bit nauseous, a bit dizzy. And if that happens for you and you don't like it, once you've breathed it out, it's kind of out of your system. You don't need to worry about it. Now, according to the NHS currently, there are no known harmful side effects for your baby from using gas and air, which is why it's a really popular drug, particularly with this short-term use during labour. And as I've said, it can make you feel a bit lightheaded, a bit sick, might make difficulties concentrating and thinking clearly. But again, if you don't like any of the side effects, you can just stop using it. You can use other pain relief options as well to top it up. You could use it alongside your hypnobirthing as well, or you could use it alongside a different pain relief method. Again, just ask your midwife about what the benefits are, how they offer it in your trust, and what the risks of using that might be. And then you can make a fully informed choice. And if you don't like it, you don't have to keep on using it. Now, the second pharmacological option I wanted to talk to you about was about pain relief injections. Now, there are three main ones that we know of that are offered across the UK, and different things are offered in different trusts. So what I'd recommend is you speak to your midwife and say, what drugs are we using in our trust during labour, please? So one of the drugs might be pethidine, another one Meptid, and another drug might be something called diamorphine as well. So these are drugs that are usually drawn up as a liquid, and then they're injected either into your buttock or into your thigh. Now, often they're given alongside an anti-sickness injection as well, because they can make you feel a little bit sick or make you be sick in labour. So the anti-sickness will hopefully lessen the effects of that. Now, they can make you, again, feel a little bit drunk, quite woozy. But again, that does help you sometimes for some people to detach them for the pain, and it can be quite an effective pain relief. Usually, though, it would be given before we think you're heading towards the second stage of labour. And the reason for that is one of the disadvantages of these injections is that they may potentially have an impact on baby. Sometimes it can impact on baby's breathing if it's given too close to the baby being born, because the baby hasn't worked out the system, because they do cross the placenta. placenta. Sometimes as well, it might have an impact, and the evidence suggests that it might delay the start to breastfeeding and make things a little bit harder to get going with breastfeeding. So it's really up to you to think about whether these drugs are right for you, whether the risks are outweighed by the benefits, the potential pain relieving effects. Sometimes we give it the early stage in labour if you've been having a long latent phase before you're getting into that really established labour. Just helps you to maybe relax, maybe help you to sleep if you haven't been able to. Sometimes it does, I find, even slow down the contractions a little bit at that stage, but not always. So sometimes the midwives will ask you if they give you that pain relief. It depends upon the policies and your different trusts. Some trusts may say, would you go on the monitor for 30 minutes afterwards? Some trusts may not ask for that, so you'll have to ask about what the policy is in your trust and what the repercussions of that are. For example, some people might say if you've had one of the injections, they don't want you to then be getting up and going into the pool afterwards, for it's not something you could use alongside the pool birth because you might be quite sleepy and quite woozy from that. As I've said, there's more information on these different pain relief options on the NHS website in the pregnancy section, and I definitely would recommend you have a little bit of a look on that. In terms of neurodiversities, it will really depend on what you know about yourself, whether you're somebody who doesn't really tolerate feeling drunk, who doesn't like or who does have a tendency to feel nauseous or dizzy, and that might make you think that these are not the right drugs for you. Particularly if you're worried if your labour is going to be fast, you don't know when your baby's going to arrive, the midwives will try and judge that a little bit for you. But of course, nobody can be absolutely sure that your baby isn't going to arrive before the pain relief injection has worn off. So have a think about what's right for you and discuss these options with your midwife.